Hi, in this video we're going to factorise something called the difference of two squares. Now suppose that we were expanding out these following brackets. So we've got a plus b multiplied by a minus b. What happens when we multiply these brackets out? Well, remember, to multiply out two brackets, we do each term in the first bracket multiplied by each term in the second bracket. So let's suppose that we focused on this first term, the first bracket. We need to multiply it by each thing in the second bracket. So we're going to times the a by the a first. So we're going to do a times a, which is a squared. And we're going to do the a multiplied by the minus b. Now, positive times negative is negative, so it will be negative. A times b is ab. What else do we have? Well, we do the second thing in the first bracket multiplied by each thing in the second bracket. So we got the b times the a, which is just going to be plus ab. Remember, we put the variables in alphabetical order. And finally, we've got the b times minus b. Positive times negative is negative. B times b is b squared. So we have minus b squared. Now, can you see that the minus ab and the plus ab just cancel? Just like if you had minus 2 plus 2, you get 0. They would cancel. So we can cross those out and we're just left with a squared minus b squared. Now notice the form of this expression that we've got. We seem to have a difference of two things. It's a subtraction, which is a difference of two things. And also notice both of these terms, left and right, are squared. So the a squared is something squared, it's a squared, and b squared is something squared, it's b squared, right? So we've got a difference of two squares. And so in general, if you've got a difference of two squares, so you've got a difference of two squared things, a squared and b squared, you can factorise it with two brackets. We can see these brackets up here. We've got a plus in the middle of one of them, a minus in the middle of the other. Doesn't actually matter which way round they go. And then we had a plus b and a minus b. So let's use this rule here to apply to the examples that we've got, right? So firstly, we've got x squared minus 9. We can see it's a difference of two squares because it's a difference, it's a subtraction. And both the x squared and 9 are both squared things because x squared is x squared and 9 is a square number. It's 3 squared. So they're both squared things. So we have a difference of two squares. So remember, we have two brackets, one with a plus in the middle, one with a minus in the middle. And then what we do is we square root each of those two things. So you square root the first thing first. So the x squared, you square root it. Or another way of saying that is what squared would give you this? Well, it's just x. The square root of x squared is just x. And then you square root the second thing. So the 9 square rooted is 3. And you put that as the second thing of each of these two brackets like this. So that is the complete factorisation. What about the second one? Again, we have two brackets. We have plus in the middle of one of them, minus in the middle of the other. You do the square root of the first term. So what's the square root of y squared? Well, the square root just cancels the squared. We just get y. So we put the y as the first thing in each bracket. And then what's the square root of 64? Well, 64 is 8 squared. So the square root of 64 is 8. You put that as the second thing in each bracket. And then finally, the 1 minus x squared, two brackets. Plus in the middle of one, minus in the middle of the other. We do the square root of the first thing first. What's the square root of 1? Well, it's 1. So you put 1 as the first thing in each bracket. And then what's the square root of the second term? What's the square root of x squared? Well, the square root cancels out the squared, so you're just left with x. So x is the second thing in each bracket. And by the way, it doesn't matter which order you square these two terms. So you can't put the x as the first term in each of these, because although 1 plus x is the same as x plus 1, 1 minus x is not the same as x minus 1. So the order of these two things here does in general matter.